Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your love. And now, in this moment, and at this time, I invite you to just love on yourself a little bit. If you feel so inclined, go ahead and take a nice, deep, cleansing breath in, breathing in all the love and light around you. And as you release the breath, release all that no longer serves you. Allow it to just leave your body and leave your mind. Go ahead and take another nice, deep, cleansing breath in. And as you release that breath, allow your body to relax in this moment and allow your mind to put away all thoughts of the past or future and just be here, now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself up to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and receptive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words, I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one very special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in this room or even on this planet anymore. I turn to that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
Well, good morning to you. Are you tired of Christmas yet? No. Somebody said defiantly. No, I love Christmas. Are there aspects of Christmas you're tired of? No. Okay, we'll assume there are for a moment. Just play along with me, okay? Yeah, exactly. You see, that's what I'm talking about, that right there. If I hear the little drummer boy one more time, I'm going to scream. I told Mary, I said, I want to take that drum away from him. I just give me that. Stop that. So if you ever feel that way, you can turn it into a game. And I wanted to share with you this game I heard on Apple Radio. It's called Whamageddon. Have you heard of Whamageddon? Lisa has heard of Whamageddon.
I was out on December 7th.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Whamageddon is a game where you devise strategies to keep yourself from hearing the song Last Christmas by Wham. By Wham. Hence the name. Okay. If you're not familiar with that song, I'm not going to sing it because it'll turn into an earworm and you won't hear anything else for the rest of the service, if not the rest of the day, okay? But
you wouldn't count. It has to be the original.
It has to be the original, and there are multiple covers of it. Yeah. But the line in it, if you're trying to identify this song, is Last Christmas I gave you my heart, the very next day you gave it away. It goes on like that, you know. So you can create a strategy for yourself. So the idea is that you create an inventive way to avoid hearing that song out in public, like the supermarkets where it might play or whatever, and you write all this down, and then there's a reward. It's a contest, and there are rewards that radio stations give for this sort of thing. So you can turn it into a jest. You can be lighthearted about it. Even if you're one of these serious people who says, well, harumph, or bah humbug, what about the real reason for the season? And I got to tell you, folks, in centers like ours, meeting at more or less this hour all across the world today, people are being scolded about the reason for the season. And if you think it's about parties and merriment and Santa Claus and family and all of that, no, it submits to a higher authority, something else. So I want to talk about that and bring it down to earth, share with you the science of mind perspective on not just this holiday, but the Christ. But before doing so, while on a musical note, I was thinking, I have a waking dream. When ministers dream, we dream about strange things. And I've had this waking dream related to this holiday for a very long time, and it is this. We're going to, on Tuesday night, have our Christmas Eve candlelight service. It's going to be a beautiful event. I hope you'll turn out for it. Those of you who are in the Houston area watching today, I hope you'll come down to the center. Let us see you, you know. There's going to be sweet music and wonderful and short, mercifully short talks, and of course, candles. But I have this dream that one year, one Christmas Eve, I will be sitting there toward the end of the service. The songs will have been sung, and the candles will have been lit, and the talks will have been given. And a small, older gentleman will make his way toward me and say, I've been sitting at the back, and I've so enjoyed tonight's service. I just feel moved. I would love to sing a couple of songs. And I will look at him through the darkness and the candle smoke, and I will say, oh my gosh, and he'll say, yes, Johnny Mathis. I want you to know that with me, okay? Because I will slide out of my chair and die happy if Johnny Mathis were to turn up on a Christmas Eve. So, if you're watching online, you didn't hear the song Father of Light that Jeffrey just did, but in the opening to it, he said, so when I say Father, it's like insert other word here. You know, use some, if that term is limiting to, well, it is. I mean, it's if it's a father, it's not a mother, right? It's a father, it's gendered, it's of a certain age, and so on. I want to extend that awareness when we bring up the idea of divine sonship, S-O-N ship, divine sonship, a term used, possibly coined by Meister Eckhart, but used heavily by our Ernest Holmes, founder of this teaching. He says the principle of the Christ is the principle of universal divine sonship. Now, we're going to ungender it, you know, to make it sonship / daughtership is kind of like unwieldy and stuff. So we'll just take gender out of it altogether. Divine personhood, divine, I don't know what you want to call it, but you get the idea, don't you?
I call it childship.
Childship, okay. You get the idea. So it's not that God, the divine, only had one child. It's that every child only has one divine parent. All come from the same source. Everyone you're ever going to meet is the offspring of that divine nature, whether they know it or not, and most of them don't. And most of them don't. They think about it, they talk about it, they pray about it, they study about it, but most people don't really get it, that they are one with the source that made them. What makes Jesus stand out is that he did get it. And in a really short period of time that we have record of, 3 years, more or less, he walked the countryside teaching this idea of oneness with the source. And he said, why do you look here and there when, behold, the kingdom is within you? And we've talked about the kingdom before as being the kingdom, okay, the place where all kin, where all relations gather in consciousness, the one life, the one experience. Why do you look so far away for reality, said Ernest Holmes, when you are that? And when he went to feed the multitudes, and when he went to heal the centurion's servant and the palsied man and the various and sundry people that came to him or were sent to him for some kind of remedy, what he saw in them was that divine expression only. And he called that forth. He called that forth, and that was what established for them the healing presence within them, enabled them not only to be physically healed in the moment, but to be transformed in consciousness. It would be interesting to study how many of the people that he healed remained healed once they were out of the story, once they were out of the picture. How were they 10 years later? How were they 20 years later? Were they forever changed? You like to think you're in the presence of somebody with that level of consciousness, you're forever changed, but what we forget is that we're the ones who change ourselves. Nobody else did this. And I'll tell you a little story. I know I've told you this before, but I got to tell you it again because it goes to the point. When Reverend Arthur Johnson was speaking here one Sunday, the fourth or fifth time he'd spoken here, but not the 10th or 12th. So it was like prior to COVID. We had a show the night or the week before, and there were big panels up over by the piano here, and I was getting ready to introduce him, and there was music going on, and so we were back behind the panels there, and we got into a conversation, and the music ended, and you all just sat there, and we kept talking until we realized, uh-oh. And what we were talking about was what he was about to say. Because I was fascinated with I think it was about this time of year, I was fascinated with where he was going to go with this idea of the Christ as a healing agent. And adopted what he'd had to say, and I turned it into an article with most of his points intact and a few of my own thrown in too, about how he never healed anybody. He facilitated healing. There's a big difference. He didn't bestow healing on people. He facilitated. He drew the healing out from within. Dr. Michael Beckwith reminds us that healing is revealing. Right? Healing is revealing. That's a good motto to have. You're revealing a condition, or you're revealing at the level of condition a principle that's active behind the condition. We are one with our source. We do not know this. What if we knew it? Well, that's when you plug the cord into the wall. I mean, that's when you attach to the source of your own power, is to recognize this, to know this. And the way Jesus put it was he walked around and he said, I and my what? Father are one. Abba, Papa is what he called him. His father, his divine father. I and my father are one. He wasn't asking that to be the case. He wasn't defending that being the case. He was simply stating an awareness that he had that by implication meant that you and the source of your being are one. You, whoever he was addressing himself at the time, be it a disciple or a needy person or a Roman authority or anyone. We are all part of that one life. So I want to go on record here as saying that when we divide the topic, distinguishing the Christ principle from the person of Jesus, we're not diminishing the power of either one. We're doubling it. We're doubling it. To understand that the Christ power is available to absolutely everyone, dare I say, irrespective of religious affiliation, is to realize that anyone can become the Christed person who lives in conscious contact. In the Declaration of Principles that we use, which started out as Holmes's personal declaration when he said, here's what I believe, in response to a person who asked him, wrote him a letter, and it turned into what we believe. There's a line in there that we believe that any person can become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. Okay? It says in full, we believe in the revelation of truth, and that any person can become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. There's a lot it doesn't say. It doesn't say, for instance, we believe that any person who takes the requisite number of courses, reads a certain number of books, has a certain level of education, or any of the rest of this, no qualifications, who lives in close contact. It doesn't say who occasionally happens into close contact, who periodically wanders, no, who lives regularly, repeatedly, lives in close contact with the indwelling Spirit. From time to time, we're going to get shoved aside from the indwelling Spirit by circumstances. Life is going to come along, and it's going to dismay us, and it's going to worry us, because we're growing, we're learning, we're constantly changing, right? So what do? We scurry back to close contact with the indwelling presence. As soon as we can, we find a chair, and we sit in it. If sitting in a chair is your way to do this, you could stand on your head, it doesn't really matter. But you find, let's say, a chair, and you sit there and you turn your eyes within and you say, there is one life, and that life is source, and that life is all the life there is, and that's all I need to know right in this moment. That life is mighty to heal, it's mighty to transform, and it's busy doing what needs to be done through me. So I will run along and catch up, get a glimpse of the divine patterning intelligence, and do what it is that's before me to do. And in that way, we live in close contact with the indwelling God. And we become revealers of truth. What is the truth that we reveal? Truth is a suspect thing, it's multifaceted, and it's highly subjective across the board. But there are certain things that we hold to be absolute truths. Love is truth. Abundance is truth. Well-being is truth. The attributes of spirit that we choose to embody are true. They exist. If they didn't exist, we wouldn't know about them, much less long for them. Peace on earth, goodwill toward all. That's a truth. It's not always a fact, but it is a truth. And our job is to turn the truths into facts, to make them real and substantial and lasting in our lives, in our life experience. So how do we do that? Through close contact with the indwelling God. Now, I'm not going to hedge every bet here and say, you don't have to call it God if you don't like it. It's the divine nature. Well, you understand all of that. Call it whatever you want to call it, but stick to the principle back of it. There are principles, and then there are personalities. You know what we tend to do is get real hung up on personalities. We love the heroic person. The Jesus, the Buddha, the Mother Teresa, the amazing person who does some great thing in the world, and we say, oh, look at that. I could never do something like that. That's not living in close contact, is it, with the indwelling Spirit? It's living in close contact with the headlines, with the drama, with the Wikipedia entry or something like that of the person. What's the principle that they use back of this? What's the principle that they've accessed to create great beauty and wonder and life and healing and opportunity in the world? What is the principle that they've touched base with? And everybody calls it something different, but it's one. It's one. And as we live in close contact with that, then we become agents of the truth, tellers of the truth. Bunch of people stand around and, oh, isn't it awful? I don't know how things are. We say, wait, I see beauty, I see wonder, I see love, I see purpose, I see potential here. I see potential in you. I see potential in a situation. I look at something that's decrepit, falling apart, in need of repair, and I see how it could be. That's what we do. We see how it could be. We see how it could be. Jesus looked at people. He didn't see them as a bunch of symptoms standing there. He certainly didn't see them as just loaded with sin and depravity, He looked at each one. He saw angels. He saw the wholeness and the perfection. Can you and I do that? Yes. More than we are anyway. More than we are. And we never want to make ourselves wrong for not doing it all the time perfectly, which is a pitfall that you fall into, hence the name, of in metaphysics. When we say everything is perfect, at the divine level, everything is perfect. At the divine level, everything is included. That's what it means. including the feelings that are uncomfortable, including the process of change. It's not all outcome, it's process. Can't say this enough. What we get when we pray is a process. If you want to see everybody as the perfect expression of spirit that they are, and you pray about that, the result that you get is not probably that suddenly you do now see everybody as the expression of spirit that they are. Instead, what you get is a good hard look at what stands between you and doing that. In other words, your pain, your disappointment, your disillusionment. At times people have let you down, which you accumulate, we all do, and you arm yourself spiritually, try to prepare yourself spiritually to not be emotionally wounded again by anybody who resembles them, which is pretty much everyone. Okay, because, the one person is more like another person than they're like anything else, if you think about it that way, right? And so when I treat to know that I can accept absolutely everybody and unconditionally love everybody, what I get is a process. I get a list, kind of, it's more icons than words, but you get a symbolical representation in consciousness. So here's your forgiveness work to do. Okay, here's your heart opening work, and it all tracks back to the self. Here are the times. Are you disappointed by life? Here are the times you've been the disappointment. Here are the times when you've not lived up to your own expectations and stuff. And this is what, if we don't say this, you see, this is what throws people off, because they expect immediate results. Ernest Holmes tries to say this over and over in the textbook. He says, we don't believe in something for nothing. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. When you ally yourself with the divine principle of abundance, it's not that an armored truck is going to roll up and all this money. No, what's going to happen is you get to look at what's between you and experiencing abundance in life. What are the strategies that you've developed for coping with never having enough, meaning never being enough, and how attached are you to those coping mechanisms? People are like, whoa, I didn't realize this involved psychology. Well, of course it does. It couldn't not involve psychology. All spirituality is spiritual psychology. You like that? I'll say it again. All spirituality is spiritual psychology. Again, why? Because we're the only ones we have to fix. Not other people, and certainly not God. We don't have to go to Jesus and say, Jesus, please intercede here on my behalf and fix this. And, if you'll just get me out of this one. We laugh every year. You go by these churches and the lines of cars and all of that because it's Christmas. And people are like, well, sometimes I've been there. It's like, can't I catch a break? Come on, Spirit, just, deliver for me. Don't worry about how I am or who I am. Just, work around all that. Well, that's not how it operates. It works through us, not around us. And we're glad of that most of the time. So the thing is to realize is that, now we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. But the Christ was never born. It always existed. We're celebrating the birth of the new possibility. I want to recommend some music to you. You can put this in the chat. An album I heard years ago, and oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. John Fahey, Fahey, called The New Possibility. And it's Christmas music on 12-string guitar. And he was something on the 12-string guitar. Wonderful background music, but also it pulls you in. It's so evocative. It's like you sit there. It's not music to work by because you'll sit there and feel stuff. You'll feel stuff. Well, we celebrate the birth of what he called, and others have too, the new possibility. What is the new possibility? That this could be the time. Why not now? when I could take up my divine inheritance, you know, when I could realize that I am actually of that source, that I actually do have access to spiritual power, spiritual wisdom, spiritual grace, that I actually am made by unconditional love, that I am what it takes, therefore I have what it takes. This could be the time. This could be the season. Doesn't have to happen at Christmas. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian to this happening, any of the rest of this. But here we are. Here we are. Why not now? Why not now? So let's know together, there is one life, one power, one presence. This one is the Christ idea. It's one name it goes by. And we are transformed from the person who feels separate and alienated, ashamed of their nakedness, humiliated by their disobedience, to the rules, to convention, or having strayed from some path to which they swore allegiance. We are transformed from that sad and suffering person to the one who stands in the daylight and proclaims something. I am come, that all might have life more abundantly. And for that to be true, for that to be fact, I am doing my work. I'm releasing that which no longer serves in consciousness, and I'm embracing that which is the new possibility, points me in amazing new directions, and gives me the strength to go there. As I have this knowing about myself, I have it about all beings everywhere. Each one is cut of this same cloth. Each one has this opportunity. I'm not responsible for what each one does with it, but it's there. But it's there. And I, when called upon, will remind them that all are more than they seem, that all may grow and change and flourish. And for this knowing, in the way that it manifests in form everywhere I turn, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now, calling it done, and so it is.
As we come up to giving time, just a quick reminder to everybody. You know, we do appreciate your donations. At this time of the year, Reverend Jesse usually asks if you can make a special donation for Christmas. It's a tax advantage. You know, for the ones of you who are able to take advantage of that, please do so. If you've got a 401k or an IRA to which you're obliged to, from which you're obliged to make a withdrawal every year, then you can do that by sending it to Creative Life Spiritual Center. And not only does it not cost you any tax, it's also a wonderful way to donate to Creative Life. So please consider that. And if somebody wants to volunteer to be an usher, oh, Mark's already there. Oh, he beats everybody else to it. So, okay, all right. So just say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
Since David keeps making the Yule joke, I'm not going to make the Yule joke. But I have been collecting on social media. I've been collecting a bunch of the winter solstice blessings. And there's some really, really good ones. And I don't want to keep you all day out there, partly because it's cold and partly because everybody has stuff to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat you to one of them now. This one is called My Solstice Wish. So it's fairly science of mind, and I like it. So my solstice wish for you this year is this: that your feet and your heart stay warm. Don't let the world make you cold. That you know how strong you are. That you stopped doubting yourself. That you are able to feel at home, safe, and loved inside your own skin. That you find your purpose in life, and that you go for it with everything that you are. You were put here for a reason. That you make time to enjoy the little things in life. Breathe them in. Surround yourself with good people, bright souls that make you feel wanted and loved, and know that you are worth loving for exactly who you are. Let me repeat. You are worth loving exactly as you are. Now, I'm not sure who the author is, but I will give credit to the page that I found it on, which is appropriate to the season. I found it on the crone's cottage. It is the crone who is ascendant in the female aspect for this season. So know with me that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And that each and every one of us are aspects of that. We are the divine expressing that love. We are the divine channeling that power. We are that love expressed in the material plane. And as we walk through this season, we remember who we are. We remember that we are beloved expressions of the divine. We remember that we are beloved children of God. We remember that we are always worthy. That we remember to look in each other's eyes and see that divine looking back at us. We remember to look in the mirror and see the divine looking back at us. We remember to hold ourselves and each other gently. And we remember to love. Because if we can be here for any other reason, the main reason is to love. And I am grateful for a teaching that reminds me who I am. I am grateful for a community that comes together to remind each other who we are and what we're capable of. And I am grateful for each and every one of you. I am grateful for our ministers, our practitioners, our musicians. I am grateful for the technology that lets us have community all over the country. And I am grateful because it's just another word for love. And I release my word with that love into law, knowing that it is done, even as I speak these words. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use
And I love it.
it. I love it.
So it is.
So it is.
All right.